how's it going? So today I'm going to show you how to make a bulgogi burger with a millet bun. And yes, everything will be 100% vegan and gluten-free. This inspiration for a bulgogi burger, a Korean-inspired bulgogi burger, came from my recent trip to Disney World, where at my hotel I had it was a Korean-inspired burger. It was made with Beyond Meat, and then it had a glaze on it that was similar to a bulgogi glaze, and it had slaw on top, and then it had a vegan gluten-free bun. Everything was processed, you know, it was made with Beyond Meat and then the processed gluten-free vegan hamburger bun. I will say it was quite delicious, and it definitely opened my mind to, you know, eating plant-based meat alternatives on occasion. Before in other videos I said I didn't really care for them. But anyway, I thought this was a great idea, and I wanted to take it to the next level. I wanted to create a Korean-based bulgogi burger that was more whole foods, plant-based focused, increasing, let's say, the health factor and reducing some of the refined products within the end result. That included with the bun. So in this recipe video, I'm going to show you not only how to make the burger, but I'm going to show you how to make the bun. It's a bun made with millet flour. And I'm also going to show you how to make sides like the slaw that's going to go on top of the bulgogi burger, and then a side which includes a cucumber side dish that is it's a Korean-inspired cucumber side dish, and then some Japanese sweet potatoes that are air fried and served with it's a vegan gochujang mayo. So if you're new here, my name is Beth, and my whole focus with this channel is to help those of you who have a need or desire to follow a gluten-free diet. I have celiac disease. Others are following a gluten-free diet for various health reasons. And then also those who are plant-based or vegan, and as I am doing both. So a lot of times when you meet other people who aren't on these diets, or if you are new to such a lifestyle yourself, you feel potentially deprived. And so my whole goal here is to show you that you are not deprived. You have many options, and you just need to think a little bit outside of the box about taking some of the items that you feel you're missing or longing for, and then just modify them to meet these gluten-free and vegan diets. In this particular video, I decided to really push the limits here with going out of the box with the traditional burger focus and making it a Korean bulgogi-inspired burger. And for the burger, I'm going to utilize beluga lentils. Those are black lentils. So I'm going to move away from the traditional black bean burger and use the beluga lentils, which are a little firmer. And also a rich umami flavored mushroom. It's a shiitake mushroom. And then some other items that I'm going to be using that may not be familiar to you, but if they are, I apologize, but I'm all about introducing new flavors. I mentioned gochujang, and this is a Korean chili paste. You have to be careful when looking for this because many are not gluten-free. This one from Wegmans is, and there are some other products. I'll try to link a product in the description that is gluten-free. Another ingredient I'm using is gochujang. Gochujang, it's hard to pronounce, but it's a Korean chili flake. And this differs from your traditional chili flakes in that it's made not with the spicy seeds of a pepper. So it's a bit more mild, and some say a bit sweet. Also, I'm using an Asian pear. I'll talk about this in the video. It's different than a traditional pear, but if you don't have this, you can use something like a Bosc pear. Also, Japanese sweet potato. It's a bit of of a nice alternative to the traditional sweet potato. For the bun, I'm trying to move away from the refined white flours. When people go gluten-free, they think, oh, it's a healthy diet, but a lot of the processed foods are made with these highly refined white flours that are high in, high glycemic index and low in fiber and low in nutrients. These buns I'm using millet flour and potato starch and some tapioca flour. So there's essentially 5 recipes in this video. The burger, the bulgogi sauce, the millet buns, the cabbage slaw that goes on top of the burger, and then 5th, the cucumber side. Oh, a 6th, and then the sweet potatoes, the air-fried sweet potatoes. So I'm gonna say that as this video comes out, I may not have all the recipes written in the description. If you do want a particular recipe in this video, or if you want all of them, just write to me, let me know. My email will be included in the description in this video. I'm gonna start by showing you how to make 2 sides. This is the gochujang cabbage slaw. I recommend making this at least 4 hours in advance of serving. For this, you're going to need a red cabbage, a green cabbage, and a medium-sized carrot. Clean and then finely slice 2 cups of the green cabbage. Then set that aside into a large mixing bowl. Then clean the red cabbage and also thinly slice that. You're going to need about 1 cup of the red cabbage, and then just add that to the green cabbage in the mixing bowl. Then clean and peel the carrot, and you can either finely julienne it or you can dice it. Then add that to the bowl with the cabbages. Then dice about 2 tablespoons worth of green onions. Then add those to the bowl with the other vegetables. Let's start the slaw dressing. Add 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar to a medium-sized bowl. Add 1 tablespoon of gochujang. Then add 1 tablespoon of vegan mayo, 1 teaspoon of toasted sesame oil, 1 teaspoon of maple syrup or agave if you like, 1 teaspoon of gluten-free soy sauce or tamari, and a dash of the Korean chili flakes, gochujang. Then mix everything together so that everything is well blended. Then stir the sauce over the cabbage, the carrots, and the onions, and then stir everything together so that all the vegetables are well coated. Then cover and place in the refrigerator to allow the flavors to blend. I suggest that a minimum of 4 hours before serving. Next up is the Korean cucumber salad. So you can use a regular cucumber as I have, or you can use an English cucumber. I like to take a bit of the exterior skin off just to make the cucumber slightly softer and also to give a nice presentation. Then just slice the cucumber and place the slices into a medium-sized bowl. I used the same bowl to make the sauce for this. So I added about 1 tablespoon of the rice vinegar, a teaspoon of maple syrup, a dash of the Korean chili flakes, about 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, about 1 teaspoon of gluten-free soy sauce. Then I added about 1 teaspoon of toasted sesame oil. I then mixed everything together to combine the ingredients. And then I poured that dressing over the cucumbers and mixed the cucumbers well to coat everything. I then sprinkled some toasted sesame seeds onto the cucumbers and stirred that in as well. As with the slaw, I then covered this and placed it in the refrigerator. And again, I recommend that you allow it to sit and chill for at least 4 hours. Next up is making the Bulgogi Burger Glaze. Start with 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. Then add 4 tablespoons of gluten-free soy sauce or tamari. And 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar. Then add 2 teaspoons of gochujang, 2 teaspoons of toasted sesame oil, then dice 2 cloves of garlic and add that to the sauce. Then grate the equivalent of 2 teaspoons of fresh ginger into the sauce. Then grate 2 tablespoons of Asian pear into the sauce. As I said, this is an Asian pear. You can also use something like a bosc or even an Anjou pear. Then stir everything together, and you want to heat this over the stove in a pot for about 3 to 5 minutes on medium heat. You just want to let it heat until it thickens. Next, I'll show you how to make the Japanese sweet potato wedges. So a Japanese sweet potato will yield about 2 servings of these sweet potato fries. The Japanese sweet potato seems to have a bit more starch than the traditional orange sweet potato. It's got a purple exterior, and inside it's almost a creamy yellow or white. And it definitely is a bit drier inside, I would say, but it also is nice and sweet when you cook it. So here I'm just cutting the potato into wedges. Then using clean hands, I took the potatoes and then I rubbed my hands with some avocado oil, and then I rubbed all of the potatoes with the avocado oil and placed them in an air fryer basket. I then seasoned them with salt and black pepper and a bit of the Korean chili powder. I then took them to my air fryer and I cooked them for 7 minutes at 390 degrees Fahrenheit. I took the basket out and shook it, and then I also put it in for about another 7 minutes. And they came out nice and crispy and delicious. So now I'll show you how to make the sesame millet flour hamburger buns. Start by pouring 1 1/2 cups water into a medium-sized bowl. 2 tablespoons of toasted sesame oil. And 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. Whisk everything together well to combine all these ingredients. Then add 1/4 cup of psyllium husk powder. Make sure it's not the whole husks. You want the powder. And then you want to mix this in well. And you're going to set it aside to allow it to gel. It's almost going to gel into a jello-like texture. I say set it aside for about 3 to 5 minutes to allow this to occur. In a separate large bowl, add 1/2 cup of tapioca flour, also known as tapioca starch. Then add 1 1/4 cups of millet flour. Of course, make sure it's gluten-free, as you want to do with all of the ingredients. Then add 1 extra tablespoon of the millet flour. Then add 3 tablespoons of potato starch. This is going to help make the interior of the buns light and airy. Add 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of vegan cane sugar. If you want, use coconut sugar, and 1 tablespoon of baking powder. If you want, you can add a teaspoon of the Korean chili flakes to add color. I didn't, I brushed on the top. But anyway, whisk all the ingredients together. And you're going to add the congealed wet ingredients to the dry ingredients. As you see here, it's totally solidified. It turns into like a gel. And you have to work that into the flour mixture I started with a spoon, but then I resorted to my hands. As I combined the gel with the flours or the dry ingredients, I just kept squeezing the gel and the dough together to incorporate everything. I then turned it out onto my countertop and just kneaded it as you would with any dough. This just takes a little extra elbow grease because the gel is difficult to pick up the dry ingredients. As you see, though, with persistence, it does all come together. You just have to keep folding and kneading and pushing, and all the wet and dry ingredients incorporate into one giant dough mass. I then cut that dough ball into 6 sections, and then I used clean hands and I oiled them with sesame oil, and then I took each of the sections and rolled them into dough balls. So I had 6 equally sized dough balls for my hamburger buns. The oil on my hands again, I then pressed each bun to flatten them and make the size and shape of a hamburger bun because these will rise. I also repaired some of the cracks and crevices that I saw so that I knew the buns wouldn't split apart when they baked. I then brushed the tops of the buns with some non-dairy milk. I used cashew milk. You can use what you want. It's just, I'm putting this on here so that I can sprinkle on some sesame seeds to allow them to stick to the bun. I sprinkled them all with black sesame seeds as well as the lighter sesame seeds. I then baked them in a 375-degree oven for about 40 to 45 minutes. So you want to check on them at the 30-minute point to see how they are, but I gave them until 45 minutes. They came out nice and soft, and they were hard on the exterior and soft on the inside. And then to add an extra color and flavor, I took some sesame oil and the Korean chili powder, and I brushed that on top of the hot buns while they were cooling. So let's move on to making the beluga lentil and shiitake bulgogi burgers. So I started by making a binder. It's a flax egg. I put 1 tablespoon of flax meal or ground flaxseed into a small bowl, and then I added 3 tablespoons of water to that. I stirred it around and I set it aside to allow it to gel. It'll probably gel in about 5 minutes time. So for this recipe, you want the equivalent of about 2 cups of finely chopped shiitake mushrooms. And so I cleaned a package that I had, and then I chopped them into smaller pieces. I then took a medium-sized yellow onion, and I cut that in half, and then I diced that half also into smaller pieces. Then I set the onion aside in a separate small bowl. I then peeled and diced 2 cloves of garlic. And then I put the garlic in its own separate bowl. I then grated about 1 teaspoon of fresh ginger into the bowl with the garlic. Then put a skillet on the stove and I put about 2 teaspoons of avocado oil in the pan and then put it on medium heat. I then added the onions and the shiitake mushrooms to the skillet. I then gave them a stir to coat them in the oil. If you don't want to use oil, you can use vegetable broth or water to saute the onions and mushrooms. After sauteing those for about 3 minutes, I then added the garlic and ginger and also gave that a stir then to mix everything together. I sauteed everything for an additional 5 minutes to allow the mushrooms and onions to reduce. I then drained and rinsed 1 can of black lentils. If you make your own lentils from dried beans, you want about the equivalent of 1 1/2 cups of lentils because that's what I had with the can. After placing these in a medium-sized bowl, I then used a fork to mash them. I mashed them only partially. I left some whole beans. I then added 1 tablespoon of gluten-free soy sauce to the mushrooms and onions, a teaspoon of toasted sesame oil, a teaspoon of rice vinegar, I then added the mushroom and onion mixture to the lentils in the bowl. I then added the gelled flax egg and 1/2 cup of gluten-free and vegan panko breadcrumbs, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 tablespoon of gochujang, and about 2 tablespoons of sliced green onions. I then mixed everything together, initially using a fork. I wanted to blend all the ingredients so that I could then form the burger patties. After all these ingredients were well blended, I then took the mixture and formed 6 burger patties. Initially, I formed them into balls and then I pressed them into patties. As I mentioned, I made 6 patties. So I tried 2 ways of cooking, 1 pan-fried and 1 baking. I'll tell you how they both turned out. To make the patties in a skillet, I put about a tablespoon of avocado oil in the skillet and I heated it on medium heat. After the oil was warm, I then added the patties to the pan and made sure they were coated on the bottom with the oil, and I cooked them for about 7 minutes on the first side. I then flipped them and cooked them for another 7 minutes on the other side. Sautéing in the pan gives the burgers a crispy exterior. I then added a few tablespoons of the bulgogi glaze to each of the burgers. I suggest not putting more than about 2 tablespoons on each burger because the sauce, while they're cooking in the pan, can loosen and soften the burgers. For the other 3 burgers, I baked them in a 375-degree oven for about 30 minutes, flipping them halfway through. After that time, I pulled them out of the oven and put about 2 tablespoons of glaze on each of them and put them back in the oven just to warm. This method doesn't yield the crispy exterior and it has a slightly drier interior. As I prepared my burger, I spooned over a little more bulgogi glaze just before I ate it. I served my burger topped with some of the slaw and then a side of the sweet potatoes with a gochujang mayo and then the cool and crisp cucumber salad. If you are a fan of Korean food and big, bold flavors, you're going to really love this meal. The burger has a rich umami flavor. The bun is soft and delicious, and it pairs so well with these sides. Let me know in the comments if you try this. And I suggest that if you like this video, check out these next videos.